So I purposely kept this version of Corrina really basic, and the reason why is that I think you just want to get that basic pattern down, and I think you want to use this song as a way to figure out how to play blues in a whole bunch of different keys. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. You know, if you take a look at the PDF, the cool thing about playing blues in A with this pattern is that it's the exact same fingering for all three chords in the key. So we're in the key of A, and what we're doing is our first finger's here on the 4th string, 2nd fret. And if you play an A chord for a second, A major, or even an A7, either one, these two notes we're playing on the 5th and 4th strings are just the lowest two notes of that A chord. And then we're just adding this cool note up here, and we're just rocking back and forth 2 times on each note. And if you've watched the video about 12/8 time, that's what we're counting in. We're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so you would tap your foot in a slow 4 beats to the bar kind of thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. But you're counting it in triplets. You're giving 3 beats to each one of these taps of your foot. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you're playing the outside 2 notes of that triplet. So you're playing on the 1 and then you're not playing on the and then you're playing on the So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and might be worth practicing trying to play all 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and just to get that down, and then start trying to leave out the middle note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's the rhythm for the whole song except for the very last measure. The very last measure is an E chord. It's the 5 chord getting ready to go back to the beginning. And you just hit that on the 4 beats of the measure. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's one cool thing about 12/8 is that you can shift in and out of kind of a triplet feel to an in-between thing, which is like to a totally straight, those are just quarter notes, technically dotted quarter notes, but so anyhow, I'll go through the 3 chords. Like I said, you're just rocking back and forth between the 2nd and 4th frets with your 1st and 3rd fingers. For the D chord, which is the 4 chord in the key of A, your 1st finger goes to the 3rd string, the 4th string is open, and you do the exact same thing. And then the E chord is just 6th and 5th strings doing the same thing. So it's kind of cool. You've got the primary chord, the 1 chord of the key A is here, and then your 4 chord is just above it, and then your 5 chord is just below it. So maybe the hardest switch in the song is to go from the pattern down here on the lower strings and then jump over a couple strings to the D pattern, and then you go back to the A. Okay, so once you get that down, the cool thing is that you could use a capo and play in a bunch of other keys. So 1st fret would give us the key of B flat, and then B, and then C, and then C sharp, and then 5th fret would be D, and then 6th fret would be E flat, and then you're starting to get pretty high up the neck. You could easily go to E and F, see how far you can go. That's one option. So right there you've got a half dozen keys that you can use this pattern in. And then the other thing that I think is worth talking about is going back to the key of A for a second. Taking the knowledge that you've gotten from some of these videos, especially if you've watched the video about primary chords, you should be able to do a little bit of figuring this out as far as if you look at the primary chords in the key of A, they are A, D, and E. And if you look at the chords, the primary chords in the key of E, they are E, A, and B, which you can do as a bar chord, or you could think of it as B7. Now, notice there are two chords shared between those two keys. Both keys have an A chord and an E chord in them. So if we just kind of shift our thinking to imagine we're doing the key of E blues, 12-bar blues, using the same fingering pattern, well, instead of starting on an A, you start on an E. You do 4 measures of that, right? And then the 4 chord in the key of A, and the key of E rather, is A. And you go back to the 1 chord. Okay, so now the key of the chord, the B chord, gives us a little bit of a challenge here. So you have two options. One is you could just go to a B7, and you lose your cool pattern, but you might just want to go. You could just do that. So right hand would stay the same: 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. That's an option. Especially if you're backing somebody up who's singing it, maybe if there's another instrument in the mix, that's not going to be too jarring. The fact that on the B chord you're not doing the that pattern. Now the other option is to play the B chord not as a full bar but as a 2-string thing here. First finger, 2nd fret, 5th string, 3rd finger, 4th string, 4th fret. Now you could just play this like this. Or if your pinky will stretch to the 6th fret, you can go. So that's basically a closed version of the pattern we're doing with the A and the E using an open string. Okay, you might also notice that I'm sometimes using my 3rd finger, sometimes using my pinky. I don't think it really matters, whichever works for you. I'm usually using my 3rd finger. Okay, now if that all makes sense about playing in the key of E, and I think you might want to stop the video and practice for yourself figuring that out. What we've done is we've made an adjustment to the 5 chord, but otherwise we're using the patterns that we were using in the key of A. And if you get comfortable with playing in the key of E, no matter what you're doing with that 5 chord, whether you're strumming a B7 or if you're doing some kind of shape like this, then you can get the capo out again, and you have all the other keys available to you now, because you can play this. You can pretend you're in the key of E, but now you'll be in the key of F if you got the capo on the 1st fret, and then we would have F sharp and G sharp, and we're finally back to the key of A. So with a little bit of adjusting and adapting, this version of Corrina that we're working on can cover any key in the blues. And so hopefully that's showing you how a lot of these ideas, you can get a lot of mileage out of some of these ideas, right? Because if you know just a one version of the 12-bar blues and you know how to use a capo, it opens a lot of doors as far as playing in a whole bunch of different keys.